I've been making videos about McDonald's and the fast food industry in general since the beginning of this year, once I started noticing the cracks that are forming in this once tried and true business model. And one thing I predicted in one of my earlier videos, specifically about McDonald's, because these guys have been in the news more than anybody, because they used to be the biggest value for fast food, and now all of a sudden it's one of the worst values for fast food. Okay, and one of the predictions I made earlier this year was that when McDonald's introduced the $5 meal deal back in June, they would have to continue to extend this in order to keep people coming in. This is the only way to keep people coming in. Nobody's interested in spending 20 bucks at McDonald's, okay? Nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to come in and spend $5. $10 max. Well, McDonald's is finally starting to get the hint that this is going to be the only way to continue to see their customers come through the door and through the drive-thru, because starting on January 7th of 2025, McDonald's is going to start offering a platform called McValue in restaurants across the country. But in addition to the $5 meal deal, the McValue platform will also allow diners to buy one item and add another one for just $1 from a select menu. This can include things like sausages during breakfast, the McMuffin, sausage burrito, and during lunch or dinner, there'll be things like the 6-piece chicken McNuggets and double cheeseburger. And there's also going to be local deals and exclusive offers for people who use the app. So they're really trying to push people into using the app, and they're really trying to lure people back in the store by continuing to extend the $5 meal deal and even offer something in addition to that now with this McValue platform starting next year. And I've seen all your guys' comments like, oh, the food is trash, nobody should be eating there anyways, it's poisonous and all this. I agree, guys. I don't eat at McDonald's, okay? But they are a big piece of the American economy and arguably a big piece of American history, American culture even. So it's significant when McDonald's is having trouble, especially since they were always a place that's cheap. So they're realizing that in order to stay relevant and to keep people coming in, they need to remain cheap, which is not really a huge surprise. But the real question is going to be, is this going to work? McDonald's says it was working until they had this E. coli situation, this outbreak that hurt business again. But if it wasn't for that, they think they would have been on track to recover back to normal with just the $5 meal deal. I also reported in my last McDonald's video that McDonald's announced that they're going to be investing $100 million into basically keeping the hardest hit franchisees in business after this really bad press situation, and try to put out all this different marketing and basically try to make people forget that McDonald's is bad for you, or people got sick from E. coli with it. And here's the thing that makes me think it's actually going to work. People, especially Americans, love cheap, guys. And now that they're going to have more cheap offerings starting next year, people are going to go in and take advantage of that. And the other thing is, Americans love convenience. They love convenience, they love cheap. And when you're busy on the go and you're hungry, you don't have time to cook dinner or do anything else, people stop at the drive-thru, they're gonna pick up McDonald's. That wasn't something that my parents did very often, but I do remember several occasions just like that when I was a kid. Like, well, you know, we're running late, my mom doesn't have time to cook dinner, we're gonna stop at McDonald's and hit the drive-thru, you know, and I used to love it when I was a kid. And I actually got pretty lucky and learned my lesson early on how bad McDonald's is for you, because when I was about 7 years old, I got pretty sick when I ate McDonald's. I threw up, you know, felt really bad. I knew it was the food, it's whatever I ate from there. And ever since then, I really didn't want to eat McDonald's anymore. And literally ever since then, I might have only eaten McDonald's literally a handful of times in my whole life after that. It's kind of good that I got sick as a kid and realized that, hey, I probably shouldn't be eating this crap. But it's not just McDonald's who's in trouble, guys. Target, they are also in big trouble right now. They just had their third quarter earnings report come out, and it was so bad that the stock actually had its worst day in years, and it dropped over 20% in one day. This is how much people are boycotting Target right now. Target is blaming it on the macroeconomic situation. That's what they're saying, that the company is suffering because demand has softened, particularly for discretionary purchases, as shoppers turned more cautious on the macroeconomic environment. That's straight from Target, guys. That's not me saying this. So Target is now coming out and saying the economy is bad. And you know, here's the thing too. Target built its reputation on being a more bougie place to shop, a little more upscale than going to Walmart or Kmart. And I remember that pretty well when I was a kid. I remember even my parents saying something along those lines that, well, we don't really go here because it's more expensive than Target and Kmart, so we shop there instead. But now, ever since we had this massive run-up in inflation after the pandemic, that has completely blown that to smithereens, because now all people care about is getting the best deal available. Nobody cares where you get it from anymore, and that's hurting Target big time. Just saying, probably doesn't help either to get involved in politics or gender wars or anything like that, like Target thought it was a good idea to do last year. So they might be paying for that in other ways too. But now you have people, even high-income earners, flocking to stores like Costco and Walmart. People want the best value for the same item. No one's interested in paying a Target premium for anything. So now they're trying to take a page out of Walmart's playbook and become more of like a grocery store. In fact, that's the biggest growing section of Target sales right now is their grocery division. They say that their year-over-year food and beverage sales outpace the overall company sales growth. So people are going to Target for essentials. If I'm hungry, I need to eat, I need groceries, this is the closest grocery store to where I live. People are going in there for that and maybe buying a few other things along the way. So now they're trying to make their desperate attempt at saving their business, just like McDonald's. They're doing a Black Friday promotion with Taylor Swift. They also have plans to grow their Circle 360 loyalty program and expand its business advertising. They also say they're going to keep cutting prices and offering promotions through the holiday season. Well, what they should be doing is they should be taking a page out of McDonald's playbook and realize that the thing people care about the most is how much everything costs, guys. So start competing with Walmart on price, That's what they need to do. If you can't do that, then you probably aren't going to be able to make the recovery you're hoping for. But it's not just McDonald's and Target and all these businesses that are falling on hard times. Regular people are getting hit with difficult financial situations that are leaving people at kind of a loss of what to do. One of my viewers sent me this story about somebody else who just got their homeowner's insurance canceled completely out of the blue. This guy lives in Georgia, in Atlanta, and he got a letter from Travelers Insurance that said the trees around his home were the reason for the cancellation, but gave no option to fix anything. I can understand if you're an insurance company and you're worried about a certain risk. I've covered stories like this before where people have gotten notices like, hey, you need to remove that tree or trim these trees or we'll drop you. Different things like that. But I have never heard of somebody just getting a complete non-renewal notice because the tree is there without any way to rectify the situation, just being dropped. But I can't say I'm surprised because more insurance companies are starting to drop more and more of their customers, guys. If they feel that you are a high risk in any way, they're just flat out dropping people right now. They're not giving people a chance to rectify the situation. You're just being dropped. And this guy's like, listen, I live in Atlanta. I don't think there's a single house in town that doesn't have a tree hanging over it. Probably the case in a lot of areas, even here in Miami, guys. Look at all the neighborhoods I walk through. There's trees everywhere. Another woman in Atlanta, she got a letter from her insurance company, Nationwide Insurance, saying that her roof, her chimney, and her driveway needed to be replaced or her policy was going to be canceled. That's a lot of things to be replaced all at once. Imagine getting hit with a notice like that. Just the roof alone, you're probably looking at least 20 or 30 grand, depending on the size and the type of roof of the house. And then also, a chimney, how much does that cost to replace? I don't even know, guys. I've never heard of anybody having to even do that before. And then the driveway too, that's probably at least another 5 to 10 grand. Like, that is getting hit with a massive upfront cost just to be able to keep your homeowner's insurance. She estimates it's only going to cost her 30 grand for all of it, which I think is kind of amazing. If it's only going to cost 30 grand to do all of that work, then that's fantastic. It's a lot less than I thought it was going to be, but she has only a month to do it all. I mean, how do you comply with that? How do you get this notice and say, okay, I'll make all the repairs, but it's going to take time. You're not in charge of how long it takes the roofers to get there, or how busy the roofing company is, or how long it's going to take to put up a new chimney, guys. Like, those things are out of your control as the homeowner, but yet you're at threat of losing your insurance if you don't comply. I mean, what is this coming to? How can you meet these demands? You can't. And apparently a lot of people in Georgia are starting to see cancellation letters out of the blue like this. Their main reason for it is these companies just don't want the risk. I don't know exactly what the risk is in Georgia. I know they had a lot of flooding with Hurricane Helene that they weren't expecting, and a lot of people really got hit in the Atlanta area. So I'm sure that has a lot to do with this. But prior to that situation, I mean, what kind of natural disasters or hazards was the area really susceptible to? Not that many. That's something that could have happened anywhere. It even happened in North Carolina and Tennessee. This guy with the canceled insurance policy over the tree, what he ended up doing is he ended up trimming the tree. It kind of ended up costing $3,000. And then he also reached out to the local news and informed them that they were going to be covering this story. And then he told Travelers Insurance about it. Guess what? They reinstated his policy. So they didn't want the bad press, but I guess it's too late. They're already getting it because it was already a story, and now I'm covering it. So this stuff gets out there. It becomes bad press because you're not doing the right thing from the beginning. But I guarantee you, if this guy never reached out to the news in order to make this whole situation public, they would have just swept him under the rug. Like, yeah, another one canceled. We don't care if you fix the tree. You're just done. That's how it's going for so many people. So if something like this does happen to you, unfortunately, one of your best bets is to make it as public as possible, to make it everyone's business and give these companies bad press. Because at the end of the day, they don't want that, because insurance is, for now, still a competitive industry. If these companies get a bad reputation, then people might start looking elsewhere for their insurance needs. But he thinks this isn't going to be the end. He thinks, what? We already got the cancellation notice this year, even though they renewed me for another year. Chances are they'll probably find a new reason to drop me next year, which very well may happen. Here's what a spokesman from Travelers Insurance said about this. We remain committed to the Georgia insurance market. Retention is always our goal, but it's balanced with thoughtful and disciplined underwriting. We routinely evaluate our risk exposure and make adjustments as necessary. Yeah. Sounds just like all the CEO talk of how we fire people and our reasonings for doing so. The other lady who got the threat of cancellation if she didn't do the driveway, the chimney, and the roof, she had her roof inspected, and the roofer said the roof didn't need to be replaced. But the insurance company disagreed and stands by their call and says, you know what, we're still going to cancel you if you don't replace it. And this woman, of course, is a senior citizen that doesn't have all this extra money to just make these sudden expensive repairs, which is something that I warn people about all the time about being a homeowner on the channel. I don't care how old you are, whether you're young, middle-aged, or old. If you're a homeowner, you got to be prepared for stuff like this, guys, because unfortunately, this happens to anybody at any time. There's no predicting it, and these are the kind of things I'm talking about. You don't have an extra 30 grand laying around? Well, you're probably not in the greatest position to be a homeowner. That's just reality. But people don't want to face that reality. People just want to look at, can I afford the payment, and then take it from there. And the worst part is, if you get a letter like this woman did, where you got to make all these repairs or we're canceling you, you probably won't even be able to get insurance through another insurance company either without making those repairs. Because these guys all are in cahoots. They all talk to each other. So if one company puts out this notice, then chances are all the other ones are going to find out about it and are probably going to require the same repairs. So it kind of puts you in this position where you're stuck and you just kind of have to do it unless you want to drop insurance and you don't have a mortgage. That's your only other solution. Here's something else interesting. I swear, New York and California, maybe Illinois too, should have like a crazy contest. They should have a crazy contest in the sense that they should see which state can come up with the craziest, most ridiculous policies and laws that end up losing the state the most residents and the most businesses and the most jobs. They should have that competition. I think they're already secretly having that competition. It's just not a known thing. But I think they should make it public and we can all judge the winner by who loses the most population and the most jobs over the next 10 years. Because take a look at this, okay? More businesses might start fleeing New York from New Jersey because now New York has a congestion pricing toll in Midtown, and it's hurting their businesses and the workers who work there. It's a $9 charge for cars and up to $22 for trucks. So now you have a lot of businesses that are considering moving across the bridge over to New Jersey because they won't have to worry about losing business to this toll. They won't have to pay their workers more because of it, and their customers won't have to pay this toll. So it'd be a win-win for everybody if they just moved across the bridge to New Jersey. And they say most of the employees that actually come into these businesses are from New Jersey and they commute. This is making it harder for these people to afford to get to work now. So New Jersey could end up benefiting because of New York's stupidity in this situation. But they say this tax is even more sinister than it appears on the surface, because what it's really meant to do is to make all the commuters from New Jersey pay for New York's problems, because New York says they're using all this money to pay for a cash-strapped public transit authority. They're punishing people that have to come into the city every day for their job and work, but don't live in the city, don't even live in the same state, and they're the ones footing the bill. How about that? And take a look at this map here, guys. This is the Manhattan Money Map that details all the new congestion pricing zones and the traffic routes associated with it. The highest one on here are large trucks. So think about a semi-truck, 22 bucks just to come in. Even $4.50 on a motorcycle. Even taxi drivers aren't exempt at 75 cents. And they say app-based for hire vehicles, that's like Uber and Lyft, $1.50 they still have to pay. And if you're driving your own car, it's $9. They say there's already a dozen lawsuits forming around this situation. So I guess we'll find out if they're able to get away with all of this. It's interesting because on the one side of the coin, you have businesses like McDonald's and Target that are basically begging their customers to come back and having to go to great lengths to get their customers to come back into their stores, right? And on the other side of the coin, you have very stupid states like California, New York, and Illinois that propose all of the most preposterous, most ridiculous taxes, laws, and policies that you can think of, like this one, and it ends up driving away residents, it drives away businesses, it drives away jobs, and these states are left in a worse situation because of all of it. I'd be willing to bet that over the next 10 to 15 years, these same states that are doing this right now, that believe they have all this power, are going to be the next McDonald's and Target that are going to be begging their residents to come back because they realized how much they screwed up. You can only push people so far. You can only try to rob people so much of their money, and before people have just had it, you know? No one's going to want to live in these places anymore. And listen, there's 47 other states. We don't need those states. People have plenty of other choices of places to live. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.